Have you ever been so invisible that even when you screamed, no one looked up? That was Mariah's world. 16 years old, nearly weightless in the eyes of the world, forgotten by most, including the people who should have protected her. But all it took was one decision, one crack in a car window, one moment of instinct, and suddenly the girl no one noticed became the only person who saw what really mattered. The sun had already dipped behind the strip mall, throwing long shadows across the cracked concrete as Mariah trudged across the parking lot in her oversized hoodie. It was drenched with sweat from another day shelving cans, bagging groceries, and pretending she didn't hear what people whispered when they thought she wasn't listening. Her earbuds played a low beat, just loud enough to muffle the noise of traffic and life passing her by. She wasn't in a rush. She never was. There wasn't anything waiting for her at home except silence. And a small pile of laundry she'd have to wash by hand. But then something changed. A sound, thin, fragile, barely pierced her headphones. A cry. She froze, unsure if it was part of the music or memory. She yanked her earbuds out. There it was again. A muffled, sharp cry. Baby. Then another, louder, more desperate. Her pulse spiked. Mariah turned slowly, scanning the rows of vehicles. Rusted sedans, dented trucks, and sleek, glossy SUVs. Silent shells baking under the sun. Then she saw it. A black Range Rover parked at a crooked angle across two spaces. Its windows were dark, impenetrable, but the cries were coming from inside. She walked toward the SUV, hesitating just for a breath. What if it was nothing? What if she was wrong? But then, through the tinted glass, two tiny faces emerged. Twin babies, strapped in car seats, drenched in sweat. One was barely moving. The other was wailing. Number. No, no, she whispered. She slammed her palms against the window. Hey, anyone? People passed. A man pushing a cart gave her a glance, then kept moving. A woman in sunglasses slowed, shrugged, and muttered, "They'll be fine." Probably just a minute. Mariah's jaw locked, her fists clenched. "They're not fine," she said to no one. Her phone was dead. Of course, her fingers shook as she looked around, frantic. The store entrance was 20 feet away, but she didn't move. Then something inside her snapped. She crouched near the curb and found a rock. Jagged, heavy enough. She whispered, "I'm sorry," to the glass, and swung. The first hit bounced off. The second cracked it. The third shattered it. The explosion of glass was sharp, violent, and it got people's attention. Finally, voices rose. "Hey, what's she doing?" "She's breaking into a car." "Wait, are those real babies?" But Mariah didn't care. She reached through the broken glass, slicing her wrist open on the way, and unlatched one car seat, then the other. She backed away, one infant in each arm, sweat-soaked and red-faced, their tiny bodies frighteningly limp. She dropped to the ground and stripped off her hoodie, laying it out like a blanket. She dabbed their foreheads with a napkin and bottled water from her bag. "You're okay now. You're okay." A man tried to film her. "Get that camera out of my face," she barked. Then, sirens, finally. Police, EMTs, noise. "Step away from the children," an officer ordered. Mariah stood but didn't let go. "They were dying in that car. I broke the window. I don't regret it." A medic knelt, checked the twins, nodded urgently. "They're stable. Dehydrated, but alive. Thanks to her." The officer's voice softened. "What's your name?" She looked him dead in the eye. "Mariah." "Mariah what?" She shook her head. "Just Mariah." They sat her on a curb, gave her water, bandaged her wrist, asked questions. She answered without flinching until one question stopped her. "Where are their parents?" Mariah looked at the shattered SUV, then at the babies. "You tell me," she said. An hour later, the ambulance carrying the twins had left. So had most of the crowd. But Mariah stayed, arms wrapped around herself on the back of a fire truck. Her jaw clenched in quiet fury. She stood up, walked straight to the nearest officer. "You're going to find out who did this, right? You're not just letting them disappear into the system?" The cop didn't answer. "Don't work on it. Work faster." That was the moment the call came in. The babies had been identified. Their father was on his way. His name, Nicholas Vale, Billionaire. tech mogul, recent widower. The name meant nothing to Mariah. She crossed her arms and waited. And when the black SUV pulled up, when the man stepped out, unshaven, eyes bloodshot, clothes wrinkled, when whispers rippled through the small crowd around him, Mariah didn't flinch. She looked him in the eye, held her ground. One of the babies stirred in the medic's arms. The sound made Nicholas freeze. "Are they?" he asked. Mariah cut him off. "Alive. Barely. Because someone noticed." And in that moment, a moment so heavy it seemed to bend the air, something passed between them. A thread, a crack, a start. Mariah sat on a metal bench in the corner of the police station, still smelling faintly of engine oil and heat stroke. Her hands were bandaged, but that wasn't what hurt. The ache was deeper, something hollow behind her sternum, a space she'd built up years ago when people stopped listening. The twins, one boy, one girl, were asleep now. She held them like they were made of smoke, fragile, barely real. And yet her grip was firm, protective, like she'd done this before. Because she had, in ways the world never asked for, but life had demanded. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, cold, sharp, impersonal. Officers walked past, some glancing at her, others pretending not to see. She'd been here before, not this station, but places like it. Places that smiled and said procedure while kids disappeared into silence. An older woman approached in a tan pantsuit and kitten heels. Clipboard, name tag, smile too tight. "Mariah, I'm Angela. Child Protective Services. We need to take the babies now." Mariah didn't even blink. "Where?" Angela tilted her head. "To a care center until we can contact family. Standard protocol, strangers," Mariah said flatly. "A foster home." Angela's smile faltered. "Temporary." Mariah looked down at the boy curled against her lap, his little chest rising too fast. "You want temporary?" she said, voice low but sharp. "These babies were left in a car. They almost died. Don't talk to me about standard." Angela knelt beside her. "Sweetheart, you're 16. You don't get to make these decisions." Mariah looked her dead in the eyes. "Then someone should have thought of that before I became the only one who gave a damn today." Angela stood. She wasn't smiling anymore. "I'll talk to my supervisor." Mariah didn't respond. She just held the babies tighter. And then the station door buzzed open. Nicholas Vale walked in. He looked worse than before. A wrinkled button-down, eyes dark from sleepless nights. Grief hung on him like a wet coat. He scanned the room, pausing only when he saw the tiny figures in Mariah's lap. His legs didn't move. His hands twitched at his sides. He was frozen, not by fear but by recognition. Not of Mariah, of what he'd nearly lost. Mariah looked up at him slowly. She didn't stand. She didn't offer them to him. She waited. Nicholas stepped forward. Are they alive?" she said, her voice calm. "Barely. He choked. "I'm their father." She nodded once, cool and detached. "Where were you?" she asked. The question wasn't cruel, but it knocked the air from his lungs. He staggered slightly, caught himself, opened his mouth, closed it. "I didn't know," he whispered. "Their mother. She died 6 weeks ago. I didn't ask anyone to watch them today. I thought someone else had." He trailed off. The silence was louder than sirens. Angela stepped in, clipboard up again. "Mr. Vale, we'll need to verify your identity before the children are released into your custody." He didn't hear her. His eyes were still on Mariah, on the twins, on the one thing that felt real. "What's your name?" he asked. "Mariah." You found them?" "I didn't find them," she replied. "I saved them." A medic approached and gently lifted the girl from Mariah's arms. Nicholas reached forward awkwardly. She curled her tiny fingers into his shirt. He gasped, an involuntary broken sound. "I thought I'd lost everything," he whispered. "You didn't," Mariah said. "Not yet." The moment cracked open. Nicholas sat beside her, holding his daughter stiffly. He was clumsy, uncertain, terrified. Mariah watched him struggle and finally said, "You're holding her wrong." He blinked, embarrassed. "Let me help," she said, repositioning the baby with practiced ease. How do you know how to do this? He asked, eyes wide. Mariah looked away. You figure it out when you don't have anyone else. The officer returned with a file. He's verified. He's on the birth certificates. Angela hesitated. He's grieving. This, this may not be the best time for reunification. Mariah stood, the boy still in her arms. You want to hold him too? She asked. Nicholas nodded too quickly. She handed him the baby. He nearly dropped him. Sit down, Mariah said, firm but not harsh. Let your body carry the weight. He sat. The boy settled against his chest, sighed, calm, like he knew. Where are you sleeping tonight? Mariah asked. Nicholas didn't answer. Are you sober? He looked at her with hollow eyes. I don't know. Mariah nodded, then turned to Angela. Then they're still not safe. Those words stung deeper than any accusation. Eventually, the paramedics escorted Nicholas and the twins home, under supervision. Mariah stood in the station doorway, arms empty, watching them disappear into the night. She didn't cry, but something inside her twisted. Not regret, not pride. Just a feeling she hadn't known in years. A connection, a thread, a reason. Angela returned with a thin smile. You did good, Mariah. But Mariah didn't respond. Praise wasn't what she came for. She came to protect. And no one was going to convince her the job was done. 3 days had passed. Mariah stood at the edge of a stone driveway, staring up at the towering iron gates of the Vale estate. She clutched a crumpled note in her hand, the last thing her grandmother had written before she passed away. If something feels unfinished, don't wait for permission to ask. Even the richest people bleed the same. That note had stayed folded in her backpack for years, but today it burned like truth in her palm. She pressed the call button on the intercom. I'm here to see Nicholas Vale. There was a pause. Then the gates opened with a mechanical groan, like they were reluctant to let someone like her in. Mariah walked slowly up the curved driveway, her sneakers crunching the gravel with every step. The mansion loomed ahead. Stone walls, windows like mirrors, hedges clipped to military precision. Not a single toy in the yard, not a sound of laughter, just silence pretending to be elegance. She knocked. No butler, no security. Nicholas opened the door himself. He looked worse than before. Shirt rumpled, hair unwashed, shadows under his eyes like bruises. He blinked at her, disoriented. Mariah? His hand gripped the doorframe. What are you doing here? I want to know if they're okay, she said simply. I'm not here for anything else. Nicholas hesitated. His gaze flicked behind him. They're fine. That's not an answer, Mariah said, stepping forward. He looked like he might argue, but didn't. Instead, a sound floated down the stairs. A cough, wet, rattling, small. Mariah's eyes sharpened. Which one? What? That cough. It's the boy, isn't it? Nicholas opened his mouth, closed it. It's just a cold. Mariah didn't wait for permission. She pushed past him. Mariah, you can't just... Watch me. She followed the sound up the grand staircase, past polished portraits and empty hallways, until she found the nursery. It was pristine. White walls, beige furniture, not a single wrinkle in sight. And it felt sterile, like a hotel room no one wanted to live in. The baby boy lay in a crib, face flushed, his breathing shallow. Mariah scooped him up without hesitation and pressed her hand to his chest. Yeah, she muttered. Chest's tight. It's him. Nicholas stood in the doorway, looking like a man lost in his own house. I was going to call the pediatrician, he said weakly. When? She asked, not even looking up. When he turned blue? She rocked the baby gently, his head settling against her shoulder. You've had time, she added. You just didn't know what mattered. Nicholas flinched. I'm not here to fight, Mariah said after a beat. But don't lie, especially not to yourself. He looked away. Why do you care? Because someone has to. That stopped him. I've been where they are, she said quietly, and it's terrifying when no one shows up. Nicholas didn't respond at first. He stepped inside the room like it might collapse beneath him. He looked at her holding his son, this teenage girl who seemed more sure in a nursery than he ever had. You act like you belong here, he said. Mariah shrugged. I don't. But they deserve someone who does. He looked at her for a long time. then asked almost reluctantly, "You want something to eat?" She raised an eyebrow. "You offering me food or offering me trust?" He gave a tired smile. "Both?" Mariah nodded. "Then I'll take both, but only after he stops coughing." Downstairs, the house exhaled. The kitchen was modern and massive but smelled like nothing. No spices, no memory. Nicholas stood by the marble counter while Mariah bounced the baby on her lap. "I haven't slept more than an hour at a time," he admitted. "They don't settle." "They don't feel safe yet," she said matter of fact. He paused. "Will you stay the night? Just to help?" Mariah's instinct was to say no, to run, but she looked down at the baby boy in her arms, already snoring softly, and nodded. Just one night. That night turned into two, then three. Mariah never moved into a guest room. She curled up on the nursery floor, hoodie under her head. She refused new clothes, refused money, but she never refused the twins. She knew their cries by tone, their hunger by rhythm. Nicholas tried to keep up. He was clumsy, but he tried, and sometimes trying is everything. She taught him without teaching. "You're too stiff," she muttered one night as he held his daughter. "I'm afraid I'll drop her," he confessed. "Then sit down. Let the couch carry the weight." He did, and the baby relaxed instantly. "Why do you know all this?" he asked. "I don't," she replied. "I just watch." The house changed slowly. The nursery warmed. Laughter began sneaking in. Bottles spilled. Toys scattered. The house was still a mess of grief and learning, but it was alive. One afternoon, Nicholas handed her a stack of papers. "What's this?" she asked. "School enrollment. Remote diploma. They said they'd take you." Mariah stared at him. "You don't have to do this." "I want to," he said. "You deserve more than survival." She looked down. "I don't know how to be that kind of person." "Neither did I," he said. "Maybe we can figure it out together." And then one morning, while feeding the twins, the baby boy pointed at her and said, "Kai." Mariah froze. Nicholas did too. "Did he just?" "He did," she whispered. "Kai, Mama." The name caught, stuck. It echoed across weeks. Mariah didn't correct them. She just kept feeding, bathing, rocking. Because sometimes love doesn't wait for permission. The knock came just after breakfast. Mariah was rinsing baby bottles when the sound echoed through the house. Nathan was upstairs changing the twins out of their food-stained onesies. Banana on their cheeks, oatmeal in their hair. It was the kind of chaos that had become their rhythm. She wiped her hands on her jeans and opened the front door. A woman stood there, hair perfectly pinned, blazer sharp, badge already out. "Good morning. I'm Ms. Stephanie Mays with Child Welfare Services," she said with a practiced smile. "I'm here following up on a report regarding 2 minors in this home and an unauthorized minor residing here as well." Mariah didn't flinch. She opened the door wider and placed herself between the woman and the hallway behind her. Nathan descended the stairs slowly, one twin on each hip. The second he saw Stephanie, he stiffened. "What's this about?" he asked, his voice low. "Mr. Vale," Stephanie nodded. "We've received concerns regarding a minor, Mariah, living in this home without legal guardianship or certification as a caretaker. We'll need to discuss the implications of this arrangement." Nathan's grip on the babies tightened. "She's the reason they're alive," he said, jaw clenched. "She's the reason I'm standing here with them right now." Stephanie kept her voice even. "That may be true, but this isn't about gratitude, it's about legality. Miss Mariah is a minor herself with no formal ties to your household. Until this is reviewed, she'll need to leave." "No." The word came from Nathan, so fast and fierce that the baby boy startled in his arms. "Sir," Stephanie warned, "if she remains here in violation of protocol, it could endanger your custody." And just like that, the entire house seemed to tilt. Mariah stepped forward. "It's okay," she said softly. "I knew this might happen. I'll go." The twins whimpered as if they understood. The baby girl reached toward her. Nathan's face crumpled. "They need her." "I'll figure it out," Mariah whispered, voice cracking as she slung her worn backpack over one shoulder. "You already started." But just as she turned, both twins began to scream. Not a normal cry, not hunger, not tiredness. a deep, guttural sound, like something had been ripped from them. It was the same scream Nathan had heard the day Julia died, the sound of absence. Nathan staggered, his knees nearly buckling. This isn't right. Stephanie hesitated. You do have legal options, she said cautiously. A supervised connection, a formal placement if her background permits. I don't care what permits what, Nathan cut in. I care what's right. Mariah didn't stop walking. Nathan didn't stop shaking. The babies didn't stop screaming. That night, the house was too quiet. Bottles went untouched. Toys sat still. The baby monitor blinked, but no one spoke. Nathan sat on the hallway floor, his back to the nursery wall, tears running down his face. I let her go, he whispered to no one. I let her go. And then at 1:36 a.m., the silence snapped. The baby boy stopped breathing. No cry, no warning, just still. Nathan panicked. He tried everything. The steps, the compressions, the rocking. But the fear drowned out everything Mariah had taught him. His hands trembled too badly to call 911. So he drove. Barefoot, in his pajamas, baby wrapped in a blanket and his entire soul clutched in his arms. He drove straight to the group home where they'd taken her. He didn't ring. He pounded. A sleepy staff member opened the door in confusion. I need her, he begged. Please, he's not breathing. Seconds later, Mariah appeared. Hoodie half zipped, eyes wide, until she saw the boy in Nathan's arms. Then something clicked. She took him, right there in the hallway. Her fingers moved like memory, like instinct. A slight tilt, a breath into the mouth, tapping the soles of his feet, checking for pulse, whispering, come on, baby boy, come on. And then he gasped, then cried. Mariah collapsed against the wall, holding him like her life depended on it. Nathan dropped to his knees. Please, he said through sobs, come home. I don't think they'll let me, she said, voice shaking. Nathan stood slowly and turned to the worker nearby. Tell whoever's in charge. Nathan Vale will take full responsibility. Financial, legal, whatever it takes. The worker blinked. That's not how it works. Then it's time it does. That night, Mariah came back with just her hoodie and a beat-up backpack. No red carpet, no fanfare. Just two tiny voices squealing the moment they heard her voice. They didn't cry. They reached for her. And for the first time, she reached back without hesitation. No more guests. No more just helping. Mariah was home. A month passed, then two. And one afternoon, Nathan handed her an envelope across the breakfast table. She stared at it like it might explode. What's this? Something overdue, he said. Her name was printed on the front. Mariah Evelyn Vale. Inside, adoption papers. Signed, filed, finalized. Mariah didn't speak, didn't cry. She looked at the twins giggling on the floor with stuffed animals, then folded the paper and placed it back in the envelope. I don't need this to know who I am, she said. I know, Nathan whispered, but you deserve to have it anyway. That evening, the twins called her mama again, this time in unison. And for the first time, Mariah did cry, not out of pain, but because someone finally had shown up for her too.